we usually don't pick up hitchhikers. But I'm gonna go with my instinct on this one.
Saddle up, partner. You're it. You're it. You're it. Quincy's.
Any quincies. You're it, quincies. No, any quincies, no startsies.
You can't do that.
Can't do.
Cannot. Stamped it.
Can't do double stamped it, no erases.
Cannot. Triple stamped it. No erases. Toast blue, make it through.
You can't triple stamp a double stamp. You can't triple stamp a double stamp, Lloyd. You can't triple stamp a double stamp. Lloyd, you
Guys! Enough! Hey, want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
All right, welcome back to another week of Muskies on Tap. Last week, we talked about the PMTT recap of the championship at the Chippewa Flowage. We kind of hinted at we were going to be talking to our good friends who ended up in the third place. That last podcast went really long. This is going to be a brand new one. And I am going to introduce one of the other hosts on tonight, and that is my brother, Max Manti. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm same as I was 2.5 hours ago. I'm absolutely dandy. Actually having my celebratory night tonight. So yeah, things are going smoothly at this point in time. I'm fired up to talk to these two gentlemen. Unfortunately, I'm not able to introduce our third co-host as he is running to Papa Murphy's to grab a pizza, get a little energy. He'll be popping in here at some point in time, so we'll make sure to notate that when he does. But without further ado, let me introduce the two gentlemen in front of me here on Zoom, Clayton Spiess and Nicholas Amorose, who ended up taking third place in the World Championship, PMTT at the Chippewa Flowage, boating a 42-inch muskie, a 41 1/4, a 37 3/4, and a 34 1/4. Gentlemen, how are we doing tonight?
Doing great.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good to see you. I don't think I saw enough of you guys over the past, what was it, 5 days in a beautiful cabin that actually Clayton booked for us. That place was, I don't know. I mean, we, stayed together in Vermilion. I know you guys stayed with Gus in Cave, which we've talked about doing a full PMTT recap sometime this winter. So I'm sure we'll get into those living coordinates. But yeah, Vermilion's place was sweet. This place in Hayward we had was awesome. Worked out perfectly. But anyways, let's dive into it. So, you guys ended up taking third place. You have some history here. Not to bring up any bad demons or past experiences, but Clayton, last time you were on the podcast, I know you guys touched on it. So you guys came into the chip ready and kind of looking for some revenge. If you just kind of want to bring the new listeners up to speed on what happened last time you guys were there.
Yeah, let's get all the bad news out of the way right away. Huh?
Yeah, that's what I figured.
I agree.
We'll get it done with. We
Ugh.
can talk about the redemption because I think it plays a huge factor into your night or your day one on how things were going, because I think it just adds a lot of context into that day.
Yeah. So Nick, you can just kind of, I guess, chirp in whenever you want to talk about anything. But 2 years ago, PMTT Championship in Chippewa was my first time on the chip. Nick had been there a couple times briefly.
Like 3 times.
3 times. Yeah. So he had a little bit of knowledge about it, kind of doing some graphing, finding spots, more so probably finding panfish out there and walleyes and stuff.
Well, yeah, I was just kind of mapping, looking how it all laid out, so get a better understanding about it to fish it. But then I started going for crappies. Always have a spinning rod in the boat, always.
Why not? Yeah. So we did a lot of pre-fishing, and we fished pretty hard pre-fishing 2 years ago, checking out a lot of spots, running really quick, fast, trying to just cover water, learn as much as we could in the 2 days we had there.
It's a giant body of water at 30,000 acres.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, so we boated 2 fish going into day one. So we had a fish each day pre-fishing. We were feeling good. This was back when Mike Keys was still filming. So we had to do an interview because we were actually sitting in first place, kind of where you guys were this year for Top Gun Team of the Year. And he wanted to interview us before the tournament. So like, we're feeling pretty confident getting interviewed. He's like, how do you guys think you're going to do? And, we were like, well, we were able to catch a couple fish. We know where more fish are. We're feeling pretty decent. Don't want to jinx anything, but I think we can, do all right. And we were wrong.
I mean, I guess yeah, familiar territory for us now. I mean, going into the chip this year, we just debriefed it on our last podcast, kind of how we were feeling. Like Gus said, he was trying to be kind of stone faced and it's all good. We got 2 full days. Like we're going to get it done, feeling confident. But we both admitted on tonight, we were nervous as shit because you kind of go into it, feeling, just weird about the position you're in. We joked around, sometimes it's better to be the hunter and not the hunted per se, and just kind of changes up your mentality. So were you guys feeling that pressure at all in the Top Gun spot, kind of like we were? Was that in your mind at all, or were you guys just more so focused on winning it, or was it kind of a combination of both? Because that's kind of where we were at, was we want to lock up this Top Gun thing, but then we also want to win, but kind of got to do one before you can do the other, and it screwed with us mentally.
I would say for me, my mindset was, because when me and Clay first started fishing together, because that was our first year of the PMTT fishing together, in Cave Run, I said to him before the tournament started, I'm like, I just wanted to win top team of the year. That was my goal. So going into that was primarily my goal, was trying to finish off that.
Yeah, I would have to agree. That was definitely our number one goal, was let's catch a fish. Cause I think we had a pretty good lead too. We needed 1 fish and we could have taken it, unless of course everybody in the tournament caught a fish, but that wasn't supposed to happen. So we were told, yeah, 1 fish, you got it locked up. And well, with as good as we did pre-fishing, we were like, all right, I think in 2 days, we definitely should be able to catch a fish. We should be able to lock this down, but let's do that. And then let's focus on seeing if we can dominate the whole thing. But yeah, that didn't work out quite that way.
Well, when you start the tournament off in first half an hour, you get bit off. It does not work out.
No, yeah. That was that, I don't know.
I believe that set the pace for everything.
I said right away, as soon as that happened, I was like, that's not good. There's something, I got a really bad feeling about the tournament, even though we still tried to stay positive all the way till the end. But something told me when that happened, I was like, I had not been bit off for a long time. And that was the start of some bad things to come.
Because how you explained it was you had a hot fish, you went into the 8, you set it perfectly, corner pocketed them, and was it a bite off, or you had a kink in your line or something, something just stupid, fluky, whatever it was, the line snapped, which is I mean, in the world of muskie fishing, there's so many different ways to lose a fish. That's just, it's not the most fun way to have it happen.
That's probably the worst way to lose one, is because you're just lost everything, and then you're like, oh God.
It was a bucktail you were using. It was hot. And
yeah, you said it was the bucktail that you just had one of, I think, and it was the one that you were really hoping to seal the deal that weekend. And I remember you explaining that.
That's exactly right. Yeah, it was one. I had one of them, and I think I'd moved fish and then didn't use it too much pre-fishing, kind of saved it for it. What had happened, I think, was I caught a fish. The fish I caught pre-fishing, gator rolled up on my line and stuff. We got it in the net. And after releasing it, I could have swore I looked at my line. I know Nick told me, he's like, make sure you check your line after that. And I was like, yeah. And I don't know what happened, if I went to text somebody and then totally forgot to or whatever. But must have had a bad spot in my line, and that'll never happen again, because it was the line that failed, not the knot, not the leader. And after looking at the video, at the time, I thought that I had actually gotten he missed the bait and cut me off above the leader. But after I had video footage of it, and it was clear I had him hooked, and the leader was out of its mouth, the bait was in it, and the line broke.
Well, before we get on to the good stuff, because I do want to just, kind of ask you one more question on that. Our beautiful boy Brian Eckel just popped on here. Brian, you want to say hello to our guest here?
What's going on, guys?
How's your Papa Murphy's treating you?
They were closed, so I got noodles.
Good audible.
Yeah.
Great audible. You get a little mac and cheese, or what'd you get?
Yeah, a little Buffalo Mac.
Nice. Little
More
Buffalo Mac.
reliable.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, we were just talking about Clayton Nick's first time at the Chip, fishing in the championship. And so, kind of going off that, Clay, like you said, you kind of mentioned like, all right, man, this is like obviously not how you want to start, but you just like had a pit in your stomach, like, man, this isn't going to go well. Like, I think Gus and I can kind of relate to that. Like when we talked about in our last podcast, after we saw those guys catch a fish on our spot, that we had been fishing 4 or 5 times that day. And I remembered you saying that on the last podcast you're on, like, I just have a bad feeling about how this is going to go. I had the identical feeling of like, this just might be one of those tournaments. Cause like Kentucky, obviously Gus beautied it himself, but like Madison and Vermilion, like you just have to have dominoes fall the right way. And like, we were lucky enough to have that. And then you see something like that's like rattling enough where you just start to think like, holy shit, even if you feel like you're on fish, you feel like you're doing the right things, like it just might be one of those weekends where everything starts to kind of go wrong. So I remembered you saying that and I was like, oh shit, like, is this about to happen? So, I mean, anyways, let's move past it because it's in the past. And I know when we got to the Chip, we were talking and you were like, it's redemption time. And we brought you guys on because, as Gus and I just elaborated for 2 hours, we manufactured 2 bites and that was about it. We were not on fish. We wanted to bring you guys on to talk about how you guys ended up piecing stuff together. Wanted to talk to you guys because you guys were on fish. So take 2, Chippewa 2.0 World Championship. You guys got there. Where were you at mentally? Because this is a body of water. Obviously, you got some demons to fight off. Like, where did you start? Did you go back to where you guys had moved all those fish 2 years ago, or did you try to attack it differently?
Yeah, we definitely went back and checked out a couple original spots, some of our hot spots. Fished one of them, probably like a number 3 spot, pretty hard. Moved to fish first, like probably 10 casts, and then fished the whole rest of the thing, and it didn't look very good. And we were like, oh, well, whatever. So then we actually graphed out a couple of the other spots, our number 1 spot, and continued moving on without fishing, and then just proceeded to head to new stuff, see if we could find some things, some spots that looked identical to what we did 2 years prior, that maybe would set up the same way. And when we fished spots, we fished them hard, I would say, but we didn't fish a lot, but we were pretty successful fishing.
The newer spot that we found, the compound, as we named it, was we really didn't fish that one hard. But we did get one side imaging follow on it, and that's when we pulled off of it and didn't touch it till tournament day.
Okay.
That's smart. Did you in this compound, I know we kind of talked about it through the weekend when we were staying at the cabin, but like what in there did you find that you're like, this is where fish, other than the side image follow, like even if it's as basic as like weeds look good or we found bait or something, like what made it look good in your eyes?
Everything.
Without giving too much away.
Everything was there.
Everything. Love it.
There was
sounds like an
so
amazing
much
spot.
to it.
There was points, humps, weeds, down timber, rocks, bait, muskies.
Wow.
Sand.
Yeah. Complexity. I love complex areas, complex spots, because that's where you like want to start driving around and mapping it out. So do you guys drive around and map it out pretty well, or did you kind of just like keep off of it almost?
We drove around it, I would say. And we kind of saw like the key areas where you really want to take your time and maybe comb through it more.
Okay.
So, but like I said, there was like a lot to it. It was probably one of the coolest spots I saw out there.
And was this a spot that you guys knew existed 2 years ago? Like when you were
Nope.
there, was this totally new?
We were going off of our number one spot from 2 years ago and looking at stuff that would kind of match up to it. And then we just found this one and we're like, oh, this looks really good.
We probably drove by it a dozen times 2 years ago, and
We had a spot
no
close
kidding.
to it 2 years ago.
I didn't really look at it. Like just it from a distance when you drive by it, it doesn't look like much until
Because
you
there's
actually pull in.
2 years ago, there was another spot next to it that we fished, and we thought that looked decent. This one was right next to it, and we just drove right past it.
Dang, that's incredible. I wonder if the next time we go, Max, we do the same, and all of a sudden we find like a honey hole like right next to a spot we fished a few times and thought was decent, or ended up sucking, and be like, really, we how on earth did we miss that? And
Yeah.
that's
Well,
I think how the chip is laid out. And it also sounds like as I think you'll go on to explain, like spots change and where you start to catch fish from change like incredibly from that body of water, probably more so than others. I don't want to, put words in people's mouths, but that's what it felt like to me, that lake can have any spot on the entire lake fire off at any moment. And that's
100%.
Yeah, I don't know. It just kind of gave me that feeling. I don't know, but
I might have missed this if I jumped on slightly late. But Clayton and Nick, did you guys start in some of the dirtier water, or did you kind of have to learn the hard way in pre-fishing that maybe the clear water wasn't the way to go?
Personally, like for me, and I think Clayton's the same way, we prefer dirty water. I don't really like clear water 100%.
So you guys never even venture to that side of the lake, really?
We did. Looked at some stuff.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. When we were pre-fishing, actually, I would say maybe 75% of the Chippewa Flowage was pretty dirty.
India was very green.
There were areas
Yeah.
and spots that were clear, and we actually Scott Lake was one of them. We slid in there and just did a little graphing around. It was like, oh, let's take a couple casts, and pre-fishing. Nick stuck a fish right away. So that was clear water. And we were like, well, I guess they'll still eat in clear water too, but we would still prefer to be fishing dirty water out there.
Yeah, we found out. Yeah, I know we explained in the last podcast that we were searching for dirty water. It is not like clear cut side of the lakes. As people know, the east is a little bit more tannic and the west is green. But honestly, after being there, there's more sections than just the bridge dividing the lake in half. Honestly,
Yes.
As much as people told us that beforehand going into it, I realized that we would turn corners on certain sections of the lake on the east side and the watercolor would change. And same with the west. It was pretty bizarre. So when we were searching for dirty water, we were searching for dirty water anywhere. And that's, at least what we were looking for. And we did fish some clear water, I think too much. And we explained it in the last podcast. And that was our problem. But sounded like you guys were on fish. I know you caught, correct me if I'm wrong, is it 3 pre-fishing?
Yep.
This past week or at the championship? So
yeah, 3 pre-fishing.
3. And so for you guys, as I already know, fishing alongside you guys in the PMTT, you guys do like to stick fish pre-fishing, and
they just like to bite for us.
Right. What is your thoughts? Sorry.
It sucks being that good.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on being just an absolute beast pre-fishing as well? and sticking some fish.
I'll let Clayton take this one.
I don't know. I'm like torn between it. Honestly, there's a part of me that's like, I feel like we're burning spots, but also it is so great for confidence and to find baits that definitely work. I mean, it's one thing to get follows, lazy follows, hot follows, you can take it for what you want with fish's attitude. But when we're getting, majority of our fish are eating this year when we were pre-fishing, we're eating out on the cast. We weren't necessarily like sitting there figure eighting fish, trying to catch them, pre-fishing. Like we would probably pull out majority of the time if they were coming in, but we didn't even hardly get it. I mean, maybe there was one or two all year that we maybe could have pulled the bait out on and not caught. Otherwise, they just pre-fishing, they just chowed it. And so I get super excited and feels really good to catch fish pre-fishing, just hoping that it doesn't kick our butts in the end. But
right.
Yeah, I got that one pre-fishing is on a figure eight, natural instinct. Just you see a fish, you figure eight. Plus,
Right.
I really badly wanted to have the biggest fish at that time in Clayton's boat.
That's right. Clayton came to the tournament with a brand
such
new
a dirty
boat.
dog.
Yeah, he's shaking his head right now.
Yeah, Clay, do you want to touch on what you upgraded to from what you were fishing out of?
Yeah, I've had the Triton bass boat, 18.5 foot for the last 12 years. And it gets to be tight in there when we got all of our tournament gear and everything. And there's there's a lot of stumbling and falling down. So figure I'm going to start guiding and might as well upgrade boat a little bit. I got a 621 Ranger, which is a lot bigger.
It's a sweet rig.
It's badass. It's intimidating watching that thing come up behind you when you're on takeoff. Puts the fear of God in people.
Yeah. Watch out.
Watch out.
So it sounds like you guys obviously stumbled across something pretty awesome pre-fishing. It's just so funny, like, when we were talking about it and like hearing you guys talk about it, it's like, I think our confidence levels probably weren't all that different going into the tournament. Like Gus and I were feeling good. And obviously you guys were too, with what you guys found. It's just crazy how different it can play out actually on the tournament day. Like when the clock strikes and you start going, like our start could not have been more slow and shitty. And from what it sounds like you guys started hot and heavy. Again, not to bring it up, but it's a cursed body. It was past tense, a cursed body of water for you guys. Day one, we get a text at I think noon or 1 or something from you. And I'm like, I saw the message come through. I was like, oh, they had to have gotten one. And the message reads, "We are still cursed."
Yeah, we missed one and hooked and lost 3 more before 11 o'clock.
And the last one, I feel like we could have gotten it in the net.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
that's tough.
We kind of played it out a little bit too long. If we maybe would have horsed it, did everything you could just to drag it back into the net, without letting it head shake anymore. Maybe we could have gotten it, maybe not. Maybe we would have lost that one too. But having that last one, the fourth one on all the way just about into the net and coming off, I pretty much just threw the net down, was like, well, we should probably just leave.
And that was at the spot where 2 years ago we got broke off.
No way.
So that was just kind of omened right there, like, oh God, this is happening again.
I mean, how do you regroup? Like, I think the biggest thing Gus and I talked about was the luck side of things. Clay and I have talked about this. It's difference. Like you can be on fish, and as you said, if you're on fish, you're gonna lose fish. But there's a difference between being on fish and losing fish, catching a few, losing a few. You're still feeling good. Losing 4 fish day one of the championship, how do you regroup? Like what? How? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like mentally, how do you get through that? I mean, I don't sound like a dick when I ask the question, but I feel kind of bad, but it's like, how do you move through that?
Oh, we went dark for 2.5 hours. We didn't talk. We knew that anything that we said to each other would just piss each other off even more. I mean, rods were dang near snapped in half. Giraffes were probably close to being kicked off the boat. And I was about to take my tackle box and toss it and say, to hell with it. I'm never doing this again.
Excellent.
But what brought us together and got us out of a funk is probably Biggie.
Yes.
Biggie Smalls.
It always
bumping.
takes, when you get in a funk like that, sometimes it's best not to talk for a little bit. But then, I don't know, with me and Clay fish together, it seems like one of us is sometimes is trying to bring the other one up. But we decided to put some music on. I may have danced a little in the boat and started rapping myself. And then we were back there.
You're a good rapper too. I've heard it.
I
And
got
a
a new
good
song
dancer.
coming
I've
out.
seen you dance as well.
I could rap a little bit.
But it just all of a sudden, then we're just having a good time, just doing that, and then it happens.
It happened in a
100%.
pretty cool way too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
do the rundown on the fish you got day one.
Yeah, we were jamming pretty loud to music. I'm sure everyone at the resort could hear us that we were fishing in front of. Happened to be the tournament takeoff for the big bass tournament, and it was pretty much right at the time that boats were starting to come back for check-in and weigh-in. And so they had the microphones on and like people were starting to show up and stuff. And Nick's like, I kind of want to fish in front of there. I know there's good weeds. And I was like, I don't know, whatever. We should get out of here. We had moved from dirty water into clear water. And, we were having a little more fun, not really caring so much anymore whatever happens. And so he's like, take me up in there. And he snaps on some rubber and gives it a heave out into the blowhole of the boat launch at the resort. And I'm like, oh, I know what he's doing. He's fishing classic spot that should always have a muskie in it because nobody's been there for a bit. So I took another bomb cast just off to the side of it and just burned blades in. And here comes a fish screaming in. And it actually tried to eat at my feet, which would have handcuffed me. I had to rip the bait away from it. And in the first turn, it cut me off and absolutely destroyed the bait, hooked it. And the fight was on. That one, was that one pretty clean, Nick? I think it was. That one wasn't too bad.
Yeah, it was, but actually it hit you 3 times in that 8.
Oh, that's right. It hit me.
You were in the
right.
middle of it after the second one. You're like, I can't believe I missed that one. I got it.
Yeah. Musky blackout.
Yep. Musky black.
Yeah, that one came pretty clean. You kind of drug it, and
Yeah, I wasn't gonna let that one fight. I was gonna keep that right at the boat. And
well, you told me you were gonna boat flip the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been in that spot
then,
before too.
Yeah, so then we got that one. I think it was my next cast. I had another fish up too.
Then it was game on pretty much for you guys. Like the curse was
but we
lifted
had
at
to,
this moment.
Yeah, I thought, well, yep. Then I thought the curse was lifted, but then we had to leave that spot because all the bass boats were coming flying in, and I thought we were gonna die. So,
well, they did say congratulations over the intercom to us too.
That's pretty sweet.
Everyone was cheering up there in the yard. That was pretty fun.
Well, I mean, to put this in perspective to people, like you hook and you catch this fish, and we're talking about it, and it is what it is. I think was that one like one of your 34s or something, right?
The smallest one, yeah.
Yeah, smallest one, not a big fish, but that's like the monkey off the back fish. I mean, what at that point, you had the 2 years prior where you missed
6,
6 fish, and then you have the 4 that day. So it's like, that's like, even though it's just a 34 incher, like that's like I told you that night, I'm like floodgates, like you're good now. You got it done.
Well,
you're good to go. You got it off
something
your back.
Something I always say in the boat is, you can't get 2 unless you get 1.
Mm-hmm.
That's good math right there.
Yeah, it is. But you always got to get that 1, and then you can build on it. But that 1 is the most important one.
Easily.
We're just going to check in with our residential math guy here. Brian, does that math check out?
I'm still crunching the numbers here. Give me about 5.
So I remember getting a text from you guys again. I'm thinking, please God, don't be another like F this lake. I'm out of here. You guys are paying the rest of the Airbnb bill. Nick and I are heading back to Eagle River. We just lost another fish. And it was at that time, I mean, we didn't specify, but it was like 3:30 day one. So, I mean, you're coming to a close and it just says curse broken. I'm like, nice. That is what's up. Yeah, Clayton. I mean,
Yes.
it like you get that one, and that's got to feel pretty damn good just to get on the board.
Game changer for sure. Yeah, mood swing.
Yeah, we got I'm looking up. Sorry, I pulled up the group text, and at 3:11 on Friday, all you said, Clayton, was curse broke. Period. That's it. And we just knew, and we knew that you guys bagged one.
We were definitely feeling relieved for you guys because I think
mhm.
anyone in the muskie world, if you hear about that story, like your heart just kind of breaks for those guys. Like that's just cruel. Comes a point in time when something good's gotta happen.
I agree.
All right. Yeah. So with that being said, for day one, the couple lost, the fish bagged, monkey off the back. Going into day two, did you guys keep the same game plan? Because as the people know in the tournament, but maybe not the listeners, I don't know if we prefaced this exactly in our last podcast, but Friday and Saturday weather were significantly different. It finally brought in a lot of rain and a little bit bigger wind. Did you guys keep that same game plan going into Saturday to fish the same areas, or were you going to attack it just a little bit different?
We were thinking that our number one, number two spots would reload based on where they were and what kind of depth we had around those spots. So basically we both said immediately, like, let's go right back where we lost those fish and let's see if there's more fish there and then decide what we'll do after that.
Because we also saw we had a few more follows in those areas too, so kind of pointed us to believe, or it made us believe that there would be more fish on there.
Did you guys get on day one those follows? Were they hot or like lazy?
They were pretty lazy. I never really. If you had a hot follow, normally for us it was hitting. So like I would see it underneath my diving eyes, like a foot down there. You just also like, hey, that's a muskie.
Yeah, or it would we'd come into the figure eight, go through the eight, pull the bait out of the water, and a fish shows up, or a lot of graph follows, I guess. Most of our follows that didn't eat on day one were probably graph follows. Typically we don't really even count those, but as far as like knowing that there's more fish to go back to, they were plain as day, definitely muskies that we were going to go back and, those had not been stung yet. So
you lose a few, you catch the one, the monkey's off the back, you're in a spot where there's fish. I probably couldn't underestimate how different we were feeling after day one between Gus and I and you guys. I'd imagine Gus and I were at that time feeling very nervous about day two. I would imagine you guys were probably feeling excited just to get back out there and get on those fish. I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but was that kind of where you guys were at then? I mean, it's like, all right, it's game on now. We know where they are and we're going to go give her hell.
Yeah, I honestly hadn't had hardly any action at all up until this point. Like even pre-fishing, I mean, Nick was definitely, it seemed like first bait through or whatever Nick was using was working. I had zero confidence in what I had on my line until I caught that fish. So I had a bait that I was like, this is staying on my rod. This, it ended up being the exact same bait I'd remade. I'd made a couple of them from the year before. So that seemed to help a ton to have that confidence back on, snap that back on, and went right back. We're like, we're going right back to work. Let's go and mop these up now.
So then with that being said, day two, what went down for getting that first fish going? Because I know you guys bagged a couple. So if you guys want to give some rundowns on those fish, and I think this is where the listeners are going to get some pretty cool insight on some pretty wacky net jobs. If I remember correctly, you guys talking to us at the cabin afterwards.
That would have been the first one, yeah.
We talked about our last one, but were those fish fighting probably about as weird as you've ever seen fish fight? Or was it just us and some other people, and you guys didn't have that same deal?
We didn't have them jump like everyone else was saying. We had the fish would dog and head shake, but they would twist and turn like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like kind of reminded me of like somewhat a Canadian fish in a way.
Yeah, I agree. They were fighting like absolute mad. But like most people did say that the fish, you'd hook them and they'd jump, kind of like Minnesota fish. But we did not experience that at all. But the first fish, so going into day 2, we hopped back on our number 1 spot, the compound, and worked down this one weed edge. And I again had a fish come in hot. It seemed like it closed the distance from 10 feet to an inch in the last, 20 feet of coming into the boat. Went into the turn of the 8 and demolished my bait again. And this one, I'm just like screaming to grab the net right away because it was a bigger fish. I knew that. And it was just chaos, like trying to net it green, probably a bad idea, but I'm yelling at him, net it, don't net it, don't net it, net it. Right now, not right now. Hang on. Okay.
Literally that fast.
Yeah, it's pretty much that fast. Like every head shake, I was like, net it, nope, yep, nope, yep, nope, yep. And he finally, so I think with me yelling at him, telling him to pull back or go for it, however many times, the net ended up getting flipped over on itself, and he got it in the bag, but it was pancake laying on top of it. And the fish is thrashing, and I'm like, boat flip it, get him in it. And so Nick like slips and falls off of my tackle box, which tipped over, spilled baits everywhere, and pulled the net over on top of himself. He's got the fish in his lap, and he's in there with more baits stuck in like his back and in his neck and stuff, like not through the skin, but there were baits off of another tackle box stuck in him.
And at this time, Clay's trying to high five me already.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, congratulating him. He's like, get this fish off of me, get him in the net.
So you literally, Nick, you just like reached over on this pancaked fish and like took it back and then fell back into like an open tackle box, kind of is what you're saying? Or like how?
Well, no, the tackle box opened when I tipped it over.
Did you like spill the baits and then you fell back into those baits, or like what?
I don't even know. It happened so fast. Like Clay said, he got a 621 so we'd have more room. You'll never have enough room. Especially with me.
Yeah, that's unreal.
Yeah, I know that position of being the net man when the person fighting the fish is wanting it being netted right away and then being like, nope, yep, nope, because they're so unpredictable. And
well, there was one time where I was netting a fish for Clayton years ago, and he about pushed me in the water.
Oh man,
that sounds similar, Gus.
We got some head shakes going on. Uh-oh. Some boat banter going on here in the podcast.
Yeah, we'll argue about this all day.
The fish is right there behind you.
Yeah, I just pushed you off the deck, not off the boat.
Yeah, I don't know.
So he actually grabbed the whole net and pulled it into the boat with the fish on top of it, and basically he's yelling at me for him to grab the pliers, and he grabs a hold of the fish while laying on the floor of the boat and is unhooking it while he's laying there. And I'm trying to, and he had like I don't know, somehow gotten the fish elevated enough for me to get the net squared away and got the bait out, dropped it in. We've put the fish back in the water in the net, and all was fine after that. Well, minus getting a few baits out of his back.
No wonder my rain gear leaked.
Did you look like a Christmas tree when you stood up?
Yeah,
a very pretty one.
A very pretty one. That's nice. So that was sounds like that was pretty early on Saturday.
Yeah, right after that fish, Clay's like, I got the biggest fish in my boat now.
That's right. Yeah, so you guys had 2 fish going early Saturday morning. At this point, like, be honest with yourself here. You got 2 fish. There's only, I think, 2 fish caught was leading after the day 1. Granted, one of them was a 50, but does the mind start going to bigger things once you get that second one early on Saturday? Like, are you starting to think, okay, this just got real? Because I think anytime you're fishing a tournament, it's like, kind of, unless it's the Madison Lajewski situation, you kind of know, like, all right, I kind of need one by this time and need one by this
Well,
time, because you're realistically not going to catch,
you say a Lajewski situation, but that kind of played out again in this tournament with what the Silence did.
It's true, yeah, but I guess okay, so I guess I'll say this: like, you catch another nice fish the first thing on day 2, I'd imagine the mind starts to go a little bit big picture. We're like, okay, if we can get another 1 or 2 more today, like, we're gonna be right there.
Yeah, you're kind of thinking, hey, we have a chance of finishing in the top 5 then, or top 10 at least.
Mm-hmm.
My sights, once we got the second fish in the boat, my sights set on top 5. I thought we were on it, and it's go time. Here we go. We're going to light them up now and just keep grinding them out.
And then, so when did that second fish on day 2 come? Because that first fish was obviously early. When did that second fish come?
I'm going to look it up on my phone.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I honestly, it was like a half an hour, maybe 45 minutes after.
Still ripping the same spot, or are you guys bouncing around a little bit at this point?
It was very, very, very close.
Okay.
It was actually a little while after. It was 10:45. We got the second one.
You got the first, yeah.
Okay.
So you're 3 fish in now before noon on the second day. Obviously, you have to know, like, just realistically, like, you're gonna be there no matter what happens on that day. Like, you're gonna be in the running. Is this when you started to look around? Like, were you fishing a spot that other people were filtering in on? Did you feel like you had something, kind of cornered off into yourself, or you're like, man, we can beat these fish up? Or were you fighting against other anglers at this point?
We were definitely fighting other anglers. We had Senates coming through periodically. I mean, they were 60 miles an hour in, hit cherries and moving on, but they kept coming back through. So we knew something good was going on. Plus, Lajewski was there probably half the day, not fishing exactly the same that we were, but we knew he was probably fishing. I would say they almost targeted the fish before they got up into the weeds, like the reloads, as they were coming up and going off. But we saw multiple other fish getting caught. There was boats all around us the whole time. We were basically fighting to keep our spots and chase fish that we knew were there.
When you caught that first one, the one we both left pretty much, I remember we had in the net, we were calling Tim, and I just looked over and I'm like, they got one over there right next to us. Another boat did.
Wow. So
Yeah.
how do you do that in a tournament? Like, I mean, that's something Gus and I haven't had to really deal with yet. Like, kind of positioning yourself on the spot. I mean, you're just like holding your ground, or how's that work?
We just weren't backing down to, like, boats coming. Like, if we were working like a point or a little hump that we wanted to work, and we saw another boat, coming in to fish it, and we weren't done with it, like, we would turn and block them, or we would just make sure that we extended our time there, just to try and shake them off of it, get them to fish it different, or go and fish something else until we for sure were done with whatever we were going after.
Kind of the game within the game type thing.
That's
Definitely.
it happens. I remember the first time it happened to me personally. Sorry, Max, for bringing it back up, but Cave Run, for example, when I was out there on my own, and I think by day 2, just because of how little fish were caught and people seeing, I went up, and I think some people recognized the boat. I was jigging in this particular area, and this boat was kind of just like creeping in closer and fishing in closer. And mind you, I was pretty much spot locked. I'm working like a 50-foot area. I'm not working a huge stretch or anything. And this boat kept creeping in and creeping in. I'm like, what are they doing? They're like casting damn near on my boat. So I'm like, this feels weird. I'm just going to start motoring away. I'm going to put the jig rod away and cast. And I see them just go and creep out and just go directly to where I was. And the one dude that was casting the whole time just starts jigging. I'm like, that dude has never jigged in his life. He's just chasing a bite. And then they leave the spot and they watch me go right back there. I'm like, I'm getting back to my spot. And it's just kind of funny watching that happen. I mean, I know, and then even now thinking about it on the top of my head, Madison, Max, and we, I think, had somebody watch us catch one of them. There was a few boats that kind of magnetized a little bit closer in, and I think one of them was a troller. I think we explained was starting to troll inside of us, even shallower than we were fishing, and we were just getting a little more bombarded towards the end. And I think that's
well, they
just
saw the
way...
net come out for the second one, but I think more
Yeah.
importantly, like Clay, we talked about this at the cabin, but like chasing a bite, really hard to do and almost never works. Like I think if anyone's listening to this and either has fished in tournaments or wants to start fishing in tournaments, I know we get a lot of feedback on kind of like people really tuning into these tournament strategy type talks. Like, you just heard Gus and I be relentless about how much we try to do our own thing, and it really didn't. I mean, for the most part, it didn't work out. We got lucky at the chip, but like chasing a bite, I mean, I think we were talking about like it just doesn't feel like it just doesn't really pan out because you just don't know exactly what that bite is.
I hate doing it because I hate people accusing me of it. We have been accused of chasing bites before, and it wasn't the case. And anybody that I see out there that starts chasing our bite or something, just, you just shake your head because, typically they're not working the spots the same way you are, and maybe, yeah, they'll get lucky. And I hate that when they do. And I'm sorry, but like, that's not the right way to go about doing it. There's so much more satisfaction when we can go out and find our own spots or find stuff on our own, find out our own pattern and do it that way. Like I don't take pride in and have zero interest in going around and finding somebody else's bite or chasing it, or whatever. And, taking spots over because I saw somebody catch a fish or something like that.
I will never chase someone's bite. It never works out for you. Eventually you're just gonna be like, I should have done my own thing.
Well, that's just it. It's like if you start listening to too much information, like you're just going to get bombarded. And then at some point, you're not even doing what you feel is the right thing to do. So you're just like, yeah, I just feel like it doesn't pan out in the long run. So I think it's just an interesting perspective to hear that because it's like, if you're on a finite amount of water in a tournament, you can't drive 20, 30 minutes and go fish another body of water. You got to fish that body of water. And, you're seeing people that are dialed into a bite. It's probably tempting to go over and poke your head around there and see what's what. I can't lie. There was a lot of times where Gus and I were on the side of the lake we were on, and we, said a few times, well, we should probably not be here, but it, we did try to fish a little bit of that other side. It didn't work out because it just wasn't what we were doing. But yeah, it's an interesting thing because like tournaments are hard enough as it is. Having to go and kind of figure it out on your own is what makes it, like you were saying, Clayton, sweet when it does come together. I think it's like the biggest thing. So you get the fish, the second fish on Saturday, you got to be flying high at this point because like I said, you got to know you're at least at this point in some sort of contention. You got time left. Where you're at, I mean, where are you at now? Like you bag one more, you're at 4 fish, and like you got to imagine that you're going to be right up there.
Yeah. Yeah, we were feeling great. Just knew we had to just keep grinding it and hope we'd get another, just after each fish, just one more opportunity. Like, let's just keep going. Let's do what we're doing. Maybe go back on the same spots, try some different baits that work, pre-fishing, switch it up a little bit, different cast angles. Just see if we can, still see them in there. A lot of fish we actually could see on 360 and side imaging, that we were trying to target, though it's crazy. Like at this particular time, a lot of our cast back stuff just didn't work out for us. When we did catch them, we had lost the fish. They had gone somewhere and just happened to either drop on top of them with a bomb cast or maybe we even picked off a different fish that had slid up in the meantime while we were trying to work a fish. But it was pretty slow after that second one. We, it wasn't until the last half hour of the day that Nick had one come up and try and eat boat side, and I think missed it. I don't think it even got the bait. He said he might have felt something.
I jerked when I should have paused.
Yeah,
Actually,
so
I got it.
Didn't get it.
And the whole reason any of that happened, well, so I was actually using SRJ at the time, and day one I lost a fish on it. That's the one we got all the way to the boat, and then it just came off. But the way I was working my jerk bait, I give all the credit to Clay. I was watching him during pre-fishing when he caught a fish, and I get pretty aggressive with my jerk baits, but watching him, he wasn't so aggressive, so I was going a little bit slower with it when I lost that one, so we came to that spot, and I was doing a death pause about 15 feet from the boat, watching it rise up, and that fish came up and went to hit it. So I was like, okay, so we kept going around where we were fishing, and then we saw that one on, I think we saw it on 360 first. So then the side imaging, and then we casted the whole tackle box at it, and I finally said, screw it, I'm done casting at this fish, and put my SRJ back on. Took one cast in the front, and in the video I go, this can't be her. And right as soon as I said that, death pause front of the boat drilled it.
Oh man. So you're 3 fish in now. I mean, have you ever had a day tournament fishing where you caught 3 fish?
Yes.
Okay.
Eagle River PMTT.
Gotcha. All right. I mean, that's pretty incredible if you think about it. You're fishing from 7 to 4, you're trying to hit some pretty short windows. Obviously, there was a pretty nice bite window on Saturday at the Chip, but still, nonetheless, I mean, 3 fish in a day at any conditions on a full 12, 14-hour day. Muskie fishing is a great day to do it at a tournament under all the pressure at the championship during that window of 7 to 4 is pretty freaking sweet.
Yes, it is. And one of the worst parts about where we were fishing is we didn't have service. We actually had to leave the spot and run to service to get the pictures sent out. And
it was at like 3:30.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain that for people? Do you want to explain that for people, like what that process is? Because I don't know if everyone listening kind of knows what that is.
So you catch a fish in the PMTT, you catch a fish. You're supposed to call tournament headquarters, say you got a fish, what team you are, whatever, and you hang up. And then you go through the process of like unhooking it, if it hasn't come unhooked in the net, measuring it with a picture on the bump board, and then a hero picture holding the fish. And what we do is we put the fish back. We know, like, we don't stop taking pictures until we know we have the right one. We just put the fish back, let it swim away. A lot of people will put it in the net or whatever to keep it revived, and and that's fine and everything too. But the less we got to handle the fish, the better, I think. And I've never had a problem where the camera didn't take or something. Like, we know with these cameras now on our phones, we know when the picture's taken and that it's going to turn out okay. So then you have to text into headquarters and say team number, the length, and a picture of the fish on the board and a picture holding the fish. Then wait for them to say good to go. And right away, Tim gets the text of our team number and the length, but not the pictures. And he's like, our service is bad. Just go back to fishing. We'll deal with it later. And I'm like, well, can I send them through Messenger? Because I can get Messenger pictures to go out just fine. And he's like, just get to service, and just got to have them by 4. Well, the 3:31, we wanted to keep fishing and actually go back on Nick's fish, but we were like, really have, it was taking on average for us to get a picture out every 15 minutes when we'd even go to where we had service. The Chippewa Flowage does not have great service up there. There's some spots that are pretty good closer to like where we were launching and stuff, but where we were fishing, there was no way a picture was going to go out.
I think I told you, I said, well, if you want good service, just go where we are. The problem is there's no fish there.
Yeah. So we were running pretty close to where you were just to get a picture to go out.
Nice. Yeah. Glad we could help.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Nick was freaking out. Like, he obviously wanted to make sure that the pictures are going to go out. I was like, well, we have everything time stamped, and And he even told us, that they don't have good service, so they might not be getting the pictures. I'm like, he's told us to keep fishing, so let's just go out and fish whatever we can for the rest of the day. But yeah, Nick kind of freaked out a little bit about that, which understandable. I just also know that when a tournament director tells us to just go back to fishing and not worry about it, that I'm not going to worry about it. Like, we have to catch another fish.
Right.
Well, I gotta say the reason why I was probably freaked a little more out was just for the fact that that day after we caught the 42, Clay's phone wasn't working, and that was the phone we were using the whole time.
Gotcha.
So then we went to take a picture with his phone, do all that, and his screen wouldn't turn on.
Oh,
Yeah, I
So-
think I kept it out in the rain too much that day. I don't know what happened to it. It
no.
shorted out or something. So
That would be like the absolute biggest nightmare, to catch a fish and not have a way to relay the
Yes, so
message.
that was probably mainly the reason why I was freaking out, I would say.
Was
Yeah.
it you guys, Nick and Clayton, that told us to start taking pictures with both phones?
No.
Or was it maybe the Max, who told us that? Because we started
Trevor,
to do that.
the boy.
Trevor
Yeah,
Barber, Team
Trev.
Barber told us to do that. We're going to do that. Not that we've had a mix up or anything, but for any
You never know,
phone
you're out of
mishap,
water.
we're definitely going to be taking pics on. We did during this tournament, pics on both phones, location services on, timestamps on, in two places. It's the same thing as just coming prepared with always 2 pliers, 2 hook cutters, 2 of this, 2 of that.
And see, we do the same thing for I do that same thing for league. Is as soon as during league we take the picture of the fish, I have my partner or I text the pictures to my partner right away, just in case, because I've been known to drop a few phones in the lake.
Elaborate, Nick. Elaborate.
Oh, I don't know how to
Marquees.
elaborate anymore. I dropped my phone in the lake before.
That's not.
But like you
fun.
said, just be prepared for everything.
Yeah. Clayton, I hope you're mixing a cocktail over there.
I am. I was just looking to see how I can mute. Oh, I figured.
Oh,
it
it says a mute button.
I'm gonna.
I
mute
just
for a
did the
second.
same thing.
I'm mixing a drink.
Okay. Well,
Fantastic.
I want to pause anyways here on just kind of your guys' tournament rundown, like play by play. Because I think this is probably a pretty good time to open it up to maybe more of a conversation with Gus and I here about the differences of being on fish and just not being on fish at all.
I can fully agree there because I
So
think we're looking at opposite ends here.
yeah, at this point in the tournament, come Saturday at call it 3:00, you guys had caught 3 fish. Your fourth one came at 3:30, but you guys are on fish. You're pre-fishing. From what it sounds like, you found this spot, the compound that you guys really loved, and it worked out. For Gus and I, we similarly found stuff that we really liked, and we knew there were fish there. I mean, we kind of left out some stuff in the other podcasts about seeing fish porpoising. Gus saw a muskie literally
that's right.
eat something on the surface.
And I know for a fact it wasn't. What was the things we were seeing around? Was it otters that we're seeing?
Otters.
Some,
They were brown. That's what
yeah,
Johnny
and they're
told me.
brown. That's correct. That was a funny text from
That was probably I
our
named that day on Saturday.
our friend. For the listeners that don't know, the other friends that were in this tournament, the Barbers, were in similar position that Max and I were in, and there was a text message in the group chat after probably I think Nick and Clayton said they got one or something.
Yeah, so we got one, and Amanda said she had one.
Yeah, and they sent a text that said, "I saw an otter. It was brown."
Period.
Good intel.
Period.
Yeah,
That's great. Thanks.
intel.
But
Have you guys? Oh, go ahead, Gus. Sorry.
I was just mixing in that one spot where we saw the people catch the fish, where we were working all day multiple times and caught the one pre-fishing. That is where we also saw a porpoising fish right behind us after we fished the weed bed. And we're like, all right, how did that fish not eat? And then the weed bed we were about to fish, I watch a fish eat something, a muskie eat something on the surface and then go back down. And that's what I was trying to say before. I knew it was an otter because I know we were seeing otters. It was not an otter because I saw that tail flip right down and go right back down to probably start eating more. We took casts there and just nothing was showing
So
up.
I guess my question to you guys, yeah, because I want to learn from you. I mean, this was very frustrating for us. We felt like we were on fish, but we stuck to it for such a long time. Like we said, 17 and a half hours or 18 hours roughly. We stuck to these certain patterns in certain areas and didn't get anything. But if you guys had a tournament in the past where like you have pre-fishing success, everything looks good, and then the tournament day comes and like stuff just vacates, like has that happened to you? And B, if it has, like when do you guys pull the plug and start just trying to think on the fly, or do you guys just live and die on that pattern?
Well, sometimes I guess we have had it, but we've also had it on the same tournament where we're on fish, and then you always have the old saying, "Never leave fish to find fish." But that's what happened to us on Sunday. Is we didn't leave the fish, and we decided we're going to die on this pattern because we do know they're there, but they're not active.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This time, unfortunately, it didn't work.
Yeah, because I guess I'll go ahead, Clayton.
Well, I was just gonna say too, like that happens to us so often where the pattern changes. Cave Run would be one thing. I mean, we burned way too many fish pre-fishing there again. Once again, not on purpose, just fishing a lot of new stuff. And there were more fish on all these spots, and tournament day comes around and they weren't there anymore, or timing was off. I sometimes I wonder, a lot of times it's so much about timing for even maybe for you guys. If your timing is off, you could be in the right perfect spot. It's just those fish, those windows. I don't think every fish in the lake hits the window at the same time, but somebody seems like almost always is catching a fish somewhere at
Gus,
any given time.
Gus, are you going to say what I think you're about to say?
Why? You say it quick, because I might have something completely different.
Well, I just the timing thing. I mean, we touched on our last podcast about the group of people that caught the fish that we visually saw at the spot that we worked 4 or 5 times. That was timing.
That's timing.
We did, after watching your video on Friday, realize we also fished that spot.
That day,
about
Clayton caught a fish
45 minutes prior.
Yep.
On Friday, the cast you made was nearly identical to a cast both Gus and I made. Same depth, same area.
Multiple. I took so many casts at that freaking boat ramp.
Just off of it, outside of it, and it, like, that was the only time through the whole tournament our paths crossed, and it was middle portion of the lake. That was the only time our paths crossed. But you're talking about timing. You saw us leave.
I know you're waving at us. It's hilarious. That's actually probably what helped put us in a better mood before we caught that fish. So
you guys are smiling. I couldn't believe it.
We were getting in a better mood, but seeing you two drive away, just both waving and at us, made us laugh.
We do. We do when we see each other. We like to wave like absolute idiots every time. We're like, yay.
Love it.
But no, Max, what I was gonna say, which is honestly something that I would like to think just about any tournament angler, possibly any angler on any given basis, wants to know about just the changing of bites throughout any given day. Because as we know, this is a 2.5 day tournament. The chances that all 2.5 days of the tournament, the weather was going to be the same is pretty much near impossible happening, especially in fall in Wisconsin, and how much the weather changes. Is that sometimes what I've seen in some tournaments, the few so far that I've been in my life so far, is that some people are absolutely on fish. Next day the weather changes, they don't catch a single fish, but maybe they still end up in the top 10, and then they talk about it afterwards and they're like, yep, we stuck to our game plan, but we just didn't pan out on the second day. And it leads me to believe that just like it's sometimes the people that can think on the fly and like go from having an absolute stellar day and then thinking in their head, weather's going to change. We don't even touch that area, or we don't even touch those lures. We need to switch to jerk baits. Don't even touch the bucktails, or don't even touch rubber. Like, that's where I really want to learn. And I think that's what tournament fishing is teaching me. Like, when, like, you guys, Nick and Clay, know more than we know. There's some tournament anglers that you specifically know how they fish. So you almost can predict when, like, how they're going to catch the fish and if they're going to like hammer them or not. Like, a few of those sticks in the tournament that like really good at catching big fish. You probably know who I'm talking about exactly. And just like, you know, that this is like what they're licking their chops for. And then there's some times in the tournament where like they might struggle because they're chasing a bite after big fish that might not even eat, because big fish don't sometimes eat every day. So what I'm kind of getting at this is that the weather kept changing throughout this whole weekend. You guys got your 3 fish Saturday, put you at 4 fish total. Let's dive in to what you're thinking about going into Sunday, seeing that it's just more downpour, more wind, and more clouds.
Well, let's also preface where you guys were at now after Saturday.
Oh, that's right.
You're sitting in second place, but not by a lot. By a half inch. And the team that's leading you, and you guys stuck with the Sennett brothers for 2 days on the Chippewa Flowage, you know, essentially tied with them going into the third day. So you guys were on it, you know, about as good as you could possibly be, you know, not to mention that there was other opportunities. And it sounded like the Sennets also had their, you know, missed opportunities as well.
The Sennets are amazing sticks.
And agreed. Yes.
Agreed. Big time.
And so day 3, you wake up. I mean, I remember asking you guys how you feeling. You guys were both calm, cool, and collected. I didn't believe it for a fucking second. Because you got a boat on the line and, you know, the chance to win, but you knew what you were up against. So, you know, what was it, the same game plan, and you're just going to stick to it? And, you know, what like kind of what was going through your guys' head?
I gotta say, we kind of talked about it, and we're like, well, let's stick with the same game plan. And plus, like we alluded earlier, that I had that one that missed my bait, and that was actually really close to, I would say it was about 20 feet off of where Clay caught his first fish on Saturday. So I was like, well, we still have a pretty active fish right there. So that's where we started again. And unfortunately, that one did not come out to eat.
Yeah. So we were feeling confident. I had nerves about the spot continuing to reload. We'd been pounding it, and it reloaded fine, and there were new fish there. You know, for day 2, day 3 comes around, we go through there. We marked fish on side imaging, but nothing really came in aggressive at all. And like, you know, you saw all these other boats that have been pounding it too were also in there. You know, we all raced, you know, to see who could get onto what spots first. And, you know, we were almost playing bumper boats with another boat. I think they tried to push us off the spot, and I literally went right alongside of them within 10 feet of them and wouldn't back down, fishing opposite structure. But yeah, it was 2 separate points. They were fishing one direction, we were fishing the other, but I guess Nick stopped, turned around to look and see what they were doing. They were both like, had stopped casting, were staring at us like, what
were there any words exchanged there?
Not a word. I wasn't going to even acknowledge. I wasn't even going to acknowledge that they were there.
So my question to you guys is, how many boats do you think were filtering through this? And do you think that more boats started showing up as the tournament progressed because they saw you guys up on stage day 2, recognize what was going on, and started to kind of chase a little bit?
No, I don't think so. I remember seeing the same boats throughout the weekend. Maybe there's one other boat that I don't remember seeing on Friday came in. Like,
Clayton's shaking his head, yes. So.
Yeah. I think we definitely, there was one boat that came in and explored it a little more than before. Maybe one other one. One in particular that maybe could have been following us a little bit. But one boat did actually stay away. I thought was going to be in there heavier. A couple people that we know or whatever, and we've been fishing with for a while. We've even stayed with them once, but they actually, I don't know if they gave us our space or if they just never had the same success that we did fishing those spots prior to that. They figured all the fish were stung already. I'm not really sure, but it wasn't too terrible. The boats that were in there were in there. They were in there to pound the same stuff that we were. We were all going after kind of the same fish, and it seemed like they got fewer and fewer.
Mhm.
I do remember, Max, when you asked them in the morning, like, how you feeling? And I know, Clayton, you responded with like, I don't know if that spot we got is going to reload or not. I kind of like see it or in your eyes, hear it in your voice a little bit that you were like a little hesitant, like, I don't know, but like you stuck with your guns for sure. And it's honestly exactly what Max and I would have done. I hate leaving fish to find fish, but was there a
There
moment
were so
on
many
Sunday?
fish.
Was that right? Especially if you start side imaging them again.
Like if you're
Was
only
that
going
like the
after a few
telltale?
fish,
Oh, sorry.
I'll say if you're only going after a few fish, then yeah, I would probably split off. But for how much we were seeing, because normally we'd see either side imaging or a physical follow every time through this one area, but it
Mhm.
got to the point we didn't see anything then.
And do you think that was like the point where you're like, oh, we gotta leave, or was it like, and did you maybe, or like how much time did you give it?
So I
I'd
would
say
like to, this is one thing that I feel like I could maybe work on myself or get better at. And we just need to probably spend more time on a body of water like that and figure things out differently. But I think a lot of those boats that we were fishing next to, they vacated all at a certain time. And I believe you guys, Gus and Max, said that, at a certain time on Sunday, you saw a wave of boats heading from west to east. And that's about the time when I was starting to think, or I was definitely having second thoughts of, do we abandon this? Do we make a run? We had a couple other spots east that, we could have checked out, or everyone vacated. This is our chance to have the whole area to ourselves. These fish that were here decide to turn on, we stay here, and it could light up. It could light up for us. What do you do?
timing.
Senates knew exactly what to do because that's his body of water, and he knew what those fish, where they were going to go and where they needed to go. I had, we didn't really know for sure. It would have been a shot in the dark either way. And we chose to, like you said, stay on fish or where fish were rather than go look for new ones. And who knows, we didn't do any exploring during the tournament. So we had no idea who was fishing what, who was catching fish where, and what fish that we had seen maybe pre-fishing were going to be burned or gone. And,
Right.
I don't know what to do. Like, it's such a tough call.
It's impossible. That's where the luck, I think that's where the luck element comes in. If it's either luck or it's like luck mixed with like gut feelings, I think, where you got to make a decision, you stick with it, and you just got to wear the results of whatever decision that you make.
It comes down to like knowledge of the water and the presentation you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a knowledge aspect, but I think like with what Clayton's saying is like you guys knew you were on fish, and then you realized, like when you were saying, boats started to vacate, I could 100% understand where you're at. Like, okay, now we have the spot to ourselves. If these fish turn on here, we're like the golden goose position. Like we have full pick of the litter on any of these fish, or they have turned off or vacated or completely shut down, and we do need to make a move. We have 2.5, 3 hours left. We got to make something out of nothing here. It's nearly an impossible, I made the right decision until you catch the fish, right? Like you guys stay on that spot, you get 1 or 2 more to go. You guys feel like geniuses. You make a move across the lake, you go fish a spot, you pre-fish, and you catch one. You feel like a genius. I mean, you just don't, it's like what Jeremy said. Muskie fishing sucks. Oh my God, I'm the best muskie fisherman in the world when things actually pan out. Like that's what it is. I mean, it just, it's impossible to make those calls. Like, but you can, and you're going to roll the dice every once in a while. And sometimes I feel like it's going to pay off, and sometimes it doesn't work, and that's just, it is what it is.
I agree. 100%.
100%.
But I mean, like you're talking about Gus, like changing patterns and stuff. I mean, I feel like Madison was the only time. I mean, I guess Cave Run, I'm sure you felt pretty smart catching some fish by yourself. I'd imagine jigging and whatnot, but I feel like Madison was, like the first time where we really were like, wow, we did something cool, because, you caught that fish on the first day on a 10-inch monster tube, and the weather completely shifted, like a 180-degree turn from 80 degrees in sun, pontoon boats, jet skis, and wakeboard boats to Sunday being
no wind.
Yeah, no wind to Sunday being blowing 25, 30 miles an hour. Is about as cold as it can be in June, and raining. And we decided to completely switch up, and we didn't really switch spots per se as much, but we did push in shallower and completely change presentations. And it was like, that was a total gamble. Like, we could have just caught 15 pike and been done with it, but it worked out. And if it didn't, we would have felt like idiots for throwing 5-inch twitch baits.
Yeah, I agree. I'm trying to think back on the Cave Run thing. That might have been dumb luck, but sorry,
it's not dumb luck when it works.
It's not luck when it, yeah, no, I mean,
that is not dumb luck. What you were doing, that was genius.
Somehow it was, I mean, that goes back to the gut feeling. I think I said it way back at, God, this might be it was probably our second podcast ever, when Cave Run, maybe the first, actually. I think Cave Run might have been the first, potentially.
Cave Run preview and then the results or something, 1 and 2.
Yeah, something like that. And I think just the gut feeling, because Nick and Clayton, you guys stayed with me. I was pretty down bad after pre-fishing. I know you guys were on them. I saw you guys once pre-fishing, which I later found out I rolled up on you guys immediately after you caught a fish without even knowing, because you had everything stowed away. And I roll up to the spot, and I'm like, oh, this spot looks kind of good. And you guys are just standing there like, hey, yeah, it's it's all right. It's all right. And,
okay.
I remember that was hilarious.
That was so funny. And then during the tournament, when I'm sitting there jigging, and then I find out that the barbers come by, and then you guys come by, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I'm actually in like the right area for once. Finally, it felt like I was doing something kind of correct. I don't know.
I really like that body of water.
I'm excited for next year.
I think I do too.
Real quick, Gus, I do want to touch on this, because I don't know if people care or are interested, but I do want to kind of touch on the fact that, like, we're all staying at a cabin together. It's, me and Gus, Clayton and Nick, Jeremy and Trevor. At Vermilion, we had another 2 people with us, Amanda and Nicole. Like, you guys just all want to talk about kind of like the dichotomy of, like, we're all in this cabin together. We're all talking about pre-fishing, but we're not really trying to say too much, but we're also trying to kind of talk about it, but it's kind of gibberish, kind of nothing, kind of something. I think it's one of the funniest freaking things of all time. Like, yeah, we did good today. And oh, did you? Like, what?
That is the reason why I like the PMTT, honestly, as my number one, is the camaraderie with everyone.
Yeah.
It's like you just said, staying at the cabin. We all get to do something we obviously love doing, and hang out with friends, get to know new people. And then, but like you said, it is kind of funny because you're trying to explain something, but you're trying not to give away your spot or exactly how you're doing it. But at the same time, you want your friends to go out and catch a fish.
Right. Because I know by the end of the tournament,
I wanted you guys to stick fish so bad and get Top Gun.
Well, we wanted you guys to stick fish and win the damn thing too.
Yeah.
It's like, I think I was about to bring this point up earlier, but we kind of shifted gears when we were talking about chasing a bite. It's the same thing when we're staying in the cabin. And I know it's a big thing that Jeremy Barber's brought up, that we don't, as just a group of staying together, we don't chase each other's bites. We know that we go to the ends of the earth on all these different lakes and we find our own thing. And then when we come back after the day, we talk about techniques, types of spots, maybe types of structure, if we're looking for weeds or not, maybe kind of dive into bait category sometimes, but it's very vague. And that's where it gets funny because you're like, well, we found the spot. It kind of tips into the river channel, but doesn't really. It's a little bit off of it. It's got some weeds.
Because you remember in Vermilion when we pulled up on Jeremy and Trevor right after I moved at like 50 in the weeds at Vermilion, and everybody's just smashing them on rocks. Everyone's fishing rocks. It's like rocks. Find the rocks, you'll find the fish. And we're like, well, it's so goddamn windy, we can't fish the rocks. So like, let's go fish some weeds. We're not in there for 15 freaking minutes. And I move this like 4-footer plus. And we get out of the bay because we're like, all right, that bitch is ours come, Friday morning. And Jeremy's sitting out there and he didn't see where we came from because they're kind of facing the other way. We kind of pull up on him. We go, oh, I think that's Jeremy. And that was the first Minnesota fish I'd ever moved. So I'm all jacked up. Gus kind of gets mad at me sometimes because I like to talk a lot. And I say probably more than I should. And you guys
don't ever stop.
I get a few cocktails in me and I'm like, yeah, and I caught it on a bucktail. Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to say that. And,
it doesn't matter much.
And
this is
we pull up on Jeremy and he's like, yeah, it's been a little bit of a slow day. We moved a few. And I'm like, oh, we just moved a 50. And he goes, rocks? And I go, ish.
And I'm just doing there. He looks at me and I look at him. I'm like, there ain't any weeds in this lake.
And he was like, Gus was like, why'd you say that? And I was like, I'm a bad liar. I just wanted to tell him we were right here in this area and we just moved it. I'm like,
we ended up telling them, but
yeah, we ended up telling them where we were at. But like I just crack up at the kind of like, table talk or whatever. Like we're all drinking a few cocktails and we start talking about the day. And it's just so interesting because it's like, man, Clay and Nick are really on fish right now. Like, what are they doing?
We never saw you guys pre-fishing or during the tournament, except for
one time. Once.
Yeah.
Just the one time.
Take off.
Yeah, take off, I guess.
But it's funny, like you say, like what we were talking about is following or chasing somebody's bite. Because like the reason why I just wanted to recap on this, like I don't like doing it because it's how you present your lure. I know when you rip a tube, you rip it different than me. Clay rips it different than both of us. Jeremy rips it different. Mm-hmm. It's your technique. I've never seen Max rip rubber yet, but I'm guessing he's way different too.
Oh, Doki 1.0. You saw me ripping rubber that day.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
But everybody has a different technique of how they fish bucktails, tubes. So chasing someone's bite is never gonna pan out.
Yeah.
All I want to do, it is so hard for me to not. And Nick too, we're like every time if we catch a fish pre-fishing during a tournament, like right away we just want to go and like tell you guys what we did and how we got it, because anything to help like our friends out. And it's so hard to like be secretive sometimes. Like I seriously just want to help. I don't know what it is about me, but I always want to help like my friends, the people that we're staying with, out as much as I can. And, I want to think that nobody's ever going to like come and try and like just pigtail us around, and I hope that never happens, to anybody that we talk to. But, it's really hard to hold back information. I love talking about fishing and like telling people what we're doing, and anything I can do to like help, my friends succeed, as long as, and share the wealth of what we're doing. If we can, if we can get on a bite, it's tough.
Same as me too. I mean, that's kind of like me and Max were talking about it. It's when we're talking about where we caught our first fish. We were never going to go back in that lake again, but I was just wondering where Max saw him, and I'm like, well, this is also where we saw him, because I also didn't want you guys to go back on a fish that you had up that we already stuck. Like
Yeah,
pre-fish.
no,
So we
and
thought about that. It's like then you and me kind of exchanged some spots there. It's like I just want to help you guys out. We
yeah.
had no plan of coming back.
We felt this. I mean, we feel the same way. It's like we want to help out and stuff, and like we love shared information. When it's appropriate. Obviously, the problem though is like hey, if we're talking after day one of pre-fishing, like if we told you guys, hey, the fish are fired up on the east side, they're off the main river channels, they're in these weed beds or whatever. We didn't have to tell you guys a spot, but you guys are pretty damn good fishermen. That the worry would be maybe we go up and check out the north side that morning. We don't know where you guys are at. You guys go start pre-fishing. Next thing you know, you guys are fishing the same spot that we were, and it's not on purpose. It's just because, okay, they said X, Y, and Z is where the fish are going. And, oh, this spot looks great. And next thing you know, Friday morning, the tournament starts. We peel out of the, opening line and we're headed to the same spot. You just, that's like, you also don't want that to happen. And it's not because you don't like want to help people out. It's just because like you're in the tournament to do well for your team, like for you guys. So it's like, it's not in any ill will. It's just like, you're worried. Like when I was talking to Ty Sennett at the bar and he's like, well, if you guys would have been over by us, like he's like, I would worry that you guys would figure out, or if you would have been, you would have kind of figured out what was going on. That obviously made us feel very good because I don't maybe believe that, but like there is a chance that if we didn't just completely X-nay that side of the lake, maybe we could have figured something out better than what we had. But Gus, sorry, I know that you had something.
No, that's okay. I was just gonna add to, I got to think back now. It was, I think, Clayton, you might have said it, and I know Jeremy said it. It's the part of pre-fishing when we're talking to each other where and as a group, we all love to share information. I mean, I think by the end of every tournament, we just start kind of pretty much sharing what we caught them on, and we don't always go into spots or anything crazy like that, but sometimes we do. But it's like, if we do end up telling somebody else a spot, it's not that we think like, oh shit, they're going to go chase that spot. They're going to go just like steal our spot. It's like going to mess with their mind because our three groups, we're actually all very good at finding our own bite. And if we start to tell somebody else about a completely different one, it'll throw us off. Like that's
it did
thing.
Throw us off at the chip because you guys didn't say where you're catching fish, but it was pretty evident just from everybody else, that did catch fish and you guys not seeing you guys. We knew you weren't where we were. That's for damn sure. So that was it. Like Gus just said, it was totally messing with our minds. Like because we knew, like we talked about it in our last pod. We said there was a party going on and we were not invited because
you're always invited.
we could have, but
we could have been invited if we would have opened up our mailbox and decided to look through our envelopes, but we decided not to and decided to go to try to make our own party and nobody showed up. Not a single person.
At least you guys had each other.
Yeah, kind of.
I guess. Not a very fun party at sometimes. Sometimes fun, but
very depressing party until about 3:15 on Saturday.
Well, that also leads me like this. So like when you tournament fish, there could be like two of the best tournament anglers, two of the best fishermen in the world. If they're together, sometimes they're not going to do the greatest. I think you really have to compliment your partner, or you guys got to be able to work together. And I know you and Gus do. Me and Clay, I think, compliment each other, or just kind of watch each other how they're working baits and do something completely different at times. Because we have two different styles of fishing.
I mean, I talked about it on the last one. The fish we caught on Saturday, I told Gus, I said, listen to your gut. You tell me where you want to go for our last hour and a half. That's all we have here to make this happen. Pick out a spot. I trust you. And it worked out. And the same thing on Sunday, where just said, Gus, you take the wheel here. And I could definitely agree with that, where if there were two guys that both were really headstrong and had their own kind of agendas on what they wanted to do, it could get tough at times. Like, we went and fished this spot because my partner said, and we didn't catch a fish. And, screw that. I wanted to go over here, and now I heard so-and-so caught a fish over here, and it gets tough for sure. So I think there is a lot of that like camaraderie within the boat for sure for tournament
That
fishing.
and then, yeah, because I know Clayton asked me numerous times where I want to go, and I'm like, I don't even know how to fish. You pick.
Oh, stupid, Nick. You're an idiot.
See what I have to deal with?
The boat banter, love it.
Ah.
I don't mean to bring. Well, I do want to bring you into this, Brian, a little bit as relatively more new into the tournament angling. How do you feel for the prospects of the 2024 tournament? I don't know which one you guys will do, but Brian and Max, you guys got to do another one. Looking for redemption. How is the boat camaraderie there? Like, what do you think you guys can work on? I kind of want to hear this a little bit before we get a little too long with this podcast.
I mean, being on the chain, it makes it pretty easy. Like, there's not too much guessing, although we didn't catch a single fish last tournament, so there was a lot of guessing. But in terms of fighting over spots, I mean, we both know the spots so well in the chain. It's just kind of like, we both each said pretty much our A1, A2 spots, and we're like, yeah, let's go hit it. So no real arguments there. I don't know. I thought the camaraderie is all right, but at some point, like, we just got down so bad, it's just kind of like, bucket, keep casting, and hope something happens. Yeah, I mean, that's what we forgot.
Honestly, like, Brian, I don't want to pump your tires too much, but I feel like if you got out onto a new body of water that you've never seen before, I can probably bet a large sum of money that we'd be fishing in spots that nobody else was touching. And I think like that could honestly pan out. Like if you and I fish the PMTT, like in the distant future, there's a year where Gus.
Hey, whoa.
Yeah, you hear that, Gus? He's leaving you.
I'll say this.
Oh, we get that gun, and now he just wants to go find another.
Gus, you retiring?
No.
He's going solo.
No. Okay. Terrible hypothetical. Say, Brian,
run with it.
Brian, you fish in the PMTT, one of these upcoming years, and you have a partner.
Solo.
Even if it's solo, I can literally see you blanking in like 4 events straight and then just winning 2 in a row because you're just fishing.
They happen to be up in the trees that weekend. I don't know.
Yeah, they can't be on land, but I think you get pretty close.
If they're out in open water, I mean, you won't even see my boat out there. Forget it.
Brian, have you ever even fished bait or like open water, deep structure? I hear you don't really like too much, but
it's just been a joke with these guys forever because I'm always kind of nudging them closer in. But Gus has pulled my leg enough to get me out into the deeper water in the last couple of years. So
I heard if you can't pitch it over the hill into the next lake, you're not fishing tight enough.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. Yeah, I love that.
And it was just so happened that his fish this year, that 47 1/4, came from the sloppiest slop.
Oh yeah, Stump field.
Yeah.
I have never
seen
a fish in that
so
area.
big.
Yeah, I know that area probably only holds one muskie once a year for about 15 minutes, and Brian's flap-tail decided to click clack.
Hey, but that was Max's idea, so he wisened up for that one and brought us in.
Well, my favorite
I had to get my foot pedal close enough for your liking.
Yeah, that's true. My favorite is those when we're like fishing a spot and you start going, whoa, what's that over there? There's like a
little feeder creek.
You're like, dude, that's like, choked out for 100 yards. Like, you can't even get a bait in there. Like, I don't know. I think fish should be up in there. I don't know.
I remember, Brian, was it your first time ever fishing sandgrass last summer? Was it?
Yeah, I think that was maybe last summer.
Yeah, last summer, your first time ever fishing sandgrass, you caught like a 45.
Yeah.
What's the problem?
Exactly. What's the problem?
I guess he could do that solo.
Yeah. No, it was going back to your question, Gus. It was a blast fishing with Brian. I still think that weekend was really weird on the chain. I mean, we had
Yeah.
Clayton on after to talk through it because they did a whole hodgepodge of stuff too, trolled and casted a little, mostly trolled, right, Clay?
Yeah, mostly, except for the
Yeah.
last like hour and a half of the tournament.
Those
Yeah,
fish.
yeah, going back to Clayton's question for me, I like casting at bait in deeper water. Trolling's really where you lose me.
We'll get you.
Yeah.
I think still Brian has not been in the boat when we've caught a trolling fish. Caught
That's
one.
making it tough. He's been in there when we've
Yeah.
gotten a hit.
Well, that's
Season's
mainly
coming up.
because we just kind of, or I kind of just refuse to, and then we'll troll for like 30 minutes, be like, all right, back to
And then
casting.
you'll just be like, yeah, all right, we're done, right?
I'll
I'm
start
like,
casting while we're trolling. Yeah.
You have done that actually. Just out of protest. But yeah, no, I'd love to get in the boat with Brian and fish another tournament. I do, whatever one comes on the chain again. Those are fun. I mean, fishing on the chain in tournaments, good time. I don't know. It's also very frustrating too. Because I don't know. We fished, I don't know how many spots, Brian, probably 45 spots that we've caught muskie out of.
Yeah.
And
Saw 2 fish or something.
decided to only see 2 fish in the first 20 minutes, and that was about it.
Yeah. Is what it is.
It is what it is.
And you
all right.
guys must have been driving more than you were casting if you hit that many spots.
Oh,
As fast as
Might
that
have been
is.
trolling.
Yeah.
we
might as well
were
at that point.
we were flying around, man. We tried a lot as fast as we could in our little 16-foot Ranger. Clayton went by us. We were standing still, had it full tilt.
Yeah, that was the best part of the tourney was leaving the starting line, bow position number 1, and everybody's just blowing by.
Actually, for the PMTT, you guys are number 1 for the whole next year.
Yeah, we either need a new engine or something. Otherwise, we're never gonna get to the spot first. That's that'll always be funny to me. Yeah, you don't want to see me if I ever get a 200. I'm gonna be the cockiest mofo of all time. Start trying to race people and shit.
Yeah.
Where are you going? I'll beat you there.
Slips.
I'm not going to fish. I just want to race you.
Yeah, some Fast and Furious type shit. Tokyo Drift out there.
I'm actually watching the Fast and Furious right now.
Are you?
No way. I did see a bass boat this past weekend drift. Max, remember when we were fishing near that tight river area and that one like drifted around a corner?
Oh, he saw us and took a hard skirt, and we're like, that boat's gonna just like torpedo itself. Like it cut so hard because they were like came around the corner going like, I don't know, 70 60, between like 2 islands,
60, 70,
and then tried to take a hard turn, and then they saw us. They're like, just damn near flipped the boat. And Gus and I were like, these guys are idiots.
Big time. Sorry, bass guys.
All right, so let's reel this back in real quick. It's okay. Sunday obviously didn't pan out, but you ended the tournament, 4 fish. Do you feel like
and a walleye?
Do you feel like redemption was had in a sense, or what was the ending feeling? I mean, you took 3rd in the freaking championship. That's an awesome accomplishment.
I'm happy. Yeah, I feel good about it. I guess redemption. I feel like we have more. I'm sure this isn't the last time we're going to fish it, and I feel like we have more learning to do, and we can potentially grow and do even better next time, hopefully. But as far as the curse is finally ended, what a relief. Can't even begin to explain to you how much better we feel about that. But we're still only 4 for 14. So we got some work to do yet to improve our odds out there.
Oh man.
Jeez.
I felt pretty good about it. I mean, I always try to stay optimistic on the boat anyways. But I don't know, anytime we boat a fish during a tournament, let alone boat. This is the first time we ever got 4 during a tournament. And I look at it as a positive side. I mean, like I told Clay, I don't care really what happens. We gave it our all. We had a good time. We argued 100% of the time. It was a good time.
That's awesome.
Sounds fun.
All right. Well, hell of an accomplishment, guys. I mean, yeah. When, if / when you guys make it back to the championship next year, whatever lessons need to be learned, I'm sure you guys will learn them, and should be interesting. I mean, I'm really excited for 2024 PMTT Trail. I know we discussed doing a full kind of winter campfire whiskey chat. Just about all the shenanigans that go on behind the scenes and just tournament stories and fishing stories and stuff with you guys and the barbers and whoever else wants to join. So I'm looking forward to that. But what's the mission? What's the goal for 2024 for you guys? Top gun, champion, all the above?
Catch one fish. Then you can get two.
That's
Don't wait on the math expert on that one.
I got it now.
Yeah. That math
Fish
is
in
mathing.
every tournament for sure would be like a number one goal. I mean, I think that should be everyone's goal is, if you can figure out enough to put one in the boat at every tournament, being consistent is always, it's a hard thing to do. It's not easy. There's a lot of different water out there. I mean,
A lot of different variables.
Completely different bodies of water and completely different parts of the world. And a lot can happen, especially in the course of a week when you're there. So,
well, I'll be really excited to see what the schedule brings for next year and see what kind of, hurdles we're going to have to climb in this tournament fishing atmosphere. Because as I'm sure our listeners just got a full dose of probably well over 4 hours of tournament recaps here tonight. It's been awesome. I mean, I think this is like a cool behind the scenes. We chatted that this stuff is awesome. We hope more people do this. Anybody who's listening that has ever had an inkling to fish in a tournament, I would say do it because it is a lot of fun. If people don't like it, that's all good. Everyone's got their own prerogative to go muskie fishing. We love to muskie fish for fun too. We just love to muskie fish. But I'll tell you what, there's a different level of excitement when a fish hits the net in a tournament. It's just kind of a feeling like you can't replicate.
Yeah, and I gotta say too, like the people that we have met over the few years that we've done this and the friendships we've made are irreplaceable. Seriously, like if not for nothing else, I mean, you're not going to get rich doing tournaments. Maybe a couple people have made decent money, but as far as a muskie tournament is concerned, there isn't the money in it like there is in walleye and the bass tours. But there is really something about friendships that we've made and developed and continued over the years. And that stuff is irreplaceable. Like I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah, I can second that. I mean, I think the one thing I wish I would have said on stage is like to thank everybody at the PMTT for being so cool to Gus and I. First year on the trail, first time doing it. You never know what kind of reception you're going to get just being there the first time. So everyone was super nice. I mean, super welcoming. Everyone was great. I mean, it was a lot of fun. We had a blast. It was a really good time.
Also, congratulations to you and Gus for Top Gun.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
That is awesome still.
Yeah, appreciate it. It was cool. That was that fish on Saturday afternoon, Gus, is probably one I will not forget.
Nope, I won't either because it was not a pike and it happened to be muskie.
Yeah, that was an awesome video.
Not a pike, not a pike.
Not a pike, not a pike.
I can't believe that.
Did you ever get footage of that other one from Sunday?
I haven't looked. I gotta look. I was being lazy today, and I was actually going to do it in between our podcasts, but we decided to take a really long time on the first one, and now we are recording the second one. Which, man, the time frame is going to be so far off. I'm sorry for the listeners if I don't end up recording like a little. Never mind, listeners. Sorry about that. I will be recording probably something next week on like how the bite's been going. I know I've been trying to, keep an update on like current conditions, maybe water temps, what the fish have been going on. This past podcast is all PMTT. This one's all PMTT. So I'll add that in there. But
Fishing was pretty good tonight.
Oh, it was. Nick bagged one tonight.
Couldn't believe you could still cast.
Dude, I wasn't even gonna go out. I just decided, hey, look at this weather. I have to go.
And it worked.
Yeah, should have worked 2 other times too.
Like you said, if you're on them, you're gonna lose them.
Yep.
If you're on fish, you're gonna lose them. But this was all recorded on September 25th. Max and I, and then just a little bit of Brian, or mainly Brian, like the whole time. He's about to pass out. I can see. We've been chilling here doing podcasting for about 4 hours. Gents, I don't know where you guys are at, but I think I'm ready to wrap it up and get some sleep here tonight. And I cannot thank you guys enough for coming on. Thank you, Clayton, for coming back on. Nick, thank you coming on. First time in the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
You are very welcome. I cannot wait to do our whiskey fireplace banter whole 2023 PMTT recap
Christmas
special for the winter with Clayton, Nick, myself, Max, Brian. Hopefully, if you can pop on, and the Barbers, Jeremy and Trevor Barber.
Be a lot of heads in here.
I'm just gonna say, you're going to want to give yourself some extra time to edit it, man.
Yep. Yeah. Jeremy Barber might have a lot of bleeping going on.
It might be the end of Muskies on Tap because our asses are getting canceled.
You might be the one talking.
Watch his mouth. Actually, I just thought of this.
That'll probably be the most watched, listened to podcast you'll ever have.
Yeah, most
and even if
because it'll be on the local news.
You need to get a bleep button so you can just be ready whenever he does it.
Yeah, just be ready to hit it live.
I'll just be hammering it the whole time. Yeah,
as long as he doesn't go on a rant, it'll be fine.
Oh man, some of those rants. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. Had a blast with you fellas this year, and looking forward to hopefully getting out on the boat with you guys this fall, day or two.
Operation Doki 5.0.
I don't know how many operations we got, but it's kind of adding up.
Numbers are infinite, so
no doubt. All right, fellas. Well, get some sleep. We'll chat soon.
Thanks for coming on, guys.
Thank you.
See ya.
Have a good night.
Night.
All right. Just want to say thanks again for Clayton Spiess and Nick Amorose for coming on the podcast tonight. We had a great chat, kind of diving in a little bit deeper on their PMTT success, on getting third place in this year's championship at the Chippewa Flowage. So thanks again, but did not shoot an outro when we recorded this. We were on the podcast for 4 or more hours. Right now I got Max on the line to shoot the outro. Brian is probably saving lives, as he always does at his work. And we'll just kind of talk quick about the fishing conditions, a merch update, and then we'll let everybody go. So yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely saved at least a few shoulders so far today. So Godspeed for our guy. That was a fun night of podcasting. We pretty much went, I don't know what you said, it was about 4 hours of tournament talk. That was a good time. I don't know. I haven't listened to it yet, but I'm guessing that we probably got a little bit loopy there towards the end.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think it went off the rails a few times.
A little bit, nothing crazy actually. I think it was all pretty in good order, honestly, for some of our podcasts. We've had a few more, like honestly the Q&A are the ones that get unhinged and like time just goes like crazy. So
well, hopefully you guys enjoyed that, hearing a different perspective, because as we've touched on a few times in these podcasts, like there's always bites going on, and it was probably nice to hear a little bit of a perspective from a team that was actually on some fish, So
I agree there. Yeah, it's good to hear. Good to hear both perspectives. So,
sure.
I guess what we can talk about really quick in this outro would be the current conditions. And when this podcast comes out, it's going to be finally the cold snap that we're looking for. Today is October 4th, Wednesday, and it has been just uber hot out, and the bite has been extremely tough. Been able to get a few on suckers, which has been pretty awesome. Kind of just saving my ass out in the water again, but I think the casting bite should pick back up. But not many fish were really following, and if they were late and lazy, which is why the suckers were a benefit to pick up some late fish. And for location, there has been, honestly, they're kind of spread out everywhere, but there's been a complete shift in some fish leading their way towards deeper holes, deeper shorelines, and cribs, rocks, and like fallen timber already. Seeing a lot of fish coming off of shorelines nearest to that. I've been fishing a little bit of some mid-lake stuff, but that's pretty much only if it's steep and has some sort of like different cover other than just weeds. It seems like that the fish aren't just in their full-on weedy summer habitat anymore. You might find a few stragglers, but those water temps climbed. I mean, we're in the low 60s and decreasing. And with this warm up, I saw over 68 and some giant blooms on slackwater areas of the lakes I was fishing, where it just turned to green pea soup. So I think that finally is going to be behind us. For those going out this weekend, you do not have to worry about turnover. I know that's going to be a huge topic, probably for the next 2 weeks, I would say. Hopefully it's just a steady decline. We're going to get a lot of wind, which is good. We need that water to be mixing. But yeah, last I saw was like 65 to 68 degree water temp. Main Lake mainly is like, yeah, I know it's crazy. It's mainly like 65. So it'll decrease. Probably not super rapidly until more towards the end of like middle to end of the weekend when we get the really cold nights. But thankfully we have the wind to keep it mixing and not have any drastic changes. Because if it's like drastically hot and calm or like drastically cold and calm, I don't know. It seems like the water fluctuates way too fast and gets fish and funks.
So for people that are listening to this on, Thursday when it comes out or Friday and they're heading up north, obviously we're looking at a pretty massive drop off in temperature. I think these first 2 weekends of October have always been historically great to us. But we've kind of gotten it done in a few different ways. But what do you kind of feel like? What's your gut feeling on, how this weather is going to affect their moods as far as bitiness?
Pretty good, I'd say. I actually just messaging with a buddy who I know is up here, and he was out yesterday and he did not have any suckers and didn't get any action and was able to put some fish in the boat with suckers in our boat. But then so I haven't even gone out fishing yet today, and he's been out and he's already had 3 extremely hot follows on rubber. So I was going to say that I think rubber should be a pretty significant lure to go for casting on the weekend. I'd probably I don't know. I don't like being preferential with the rubber, but I'm probably going to be rigging up Medusas maybe more than Bulldogs yet to get a little hang. I think once it's post turnover, we're going to be hopping Bulldogs probably a lot more, but I think the Suics are going to shine. That bait has been getting a lot of looks lately and actually multiple lost fish, unfortunately, but I wouldn't overlook blades either. We just raised a very large fish yesterday, Tuesday the 3rd, on a willow-bladed bucktail with a very small bucktail hair skirt on it. So if they're not fire, if you don't either like to use rubber or large baits and you're mainly a bucktail fisherman and you're not seeing stuff on your traditional lures, I would definitely try a willow-bladed bucktail in larger blade size.
That's always done good in the fall for some reason. I don't know why, but those willow blades have always shined.
They get
in the
deeper.
fall.
They get deeper in the water
Yeah.
column. So I think that's the key.
That makes sense.
And you can slow them down and still pump them through weeds if you're fishing weeds, or just slow roll them and they'll end up getting multiple feet down if you're going over rocks or cribs or something like that, because the fish are still higher up in the water column. I mean, the sucker fish that we're getting, if they're boat side, I'm sure it's from a late follow, but if it's that back sucker, I'm only keeping it at like the visibility line or higher. Honestly, some of the times I've only been keeping it like 3 to 5-ish feet down, about 30 to 50 feet back from the boat. So that's getting it done. And I suspect that will continue for this pre-turnover bite. And I think the weather's only going to help.
Yeah, another nice tiger you got the other day on some warmer fall conditions. I don't know what it is about that bite, but that's been now a handful of years in a row where we've gotten a big tiger on a warmer fall day on a sucker earlier in the fall. So
and just
don't know what that reasoning is, but
I don't know either. But just as tigers like to be tigers, that fish came nowhere near a moon phase and nothing was going on, and it was just out of the blue. So that was pretty cool. That was nice to see another large tiger hit the net. But I think that's it for the bite. Overall, I'd just say lucky for the people going up this weekend instead of last weekend, because you're favored with a lot better weather. I know there's a little bit of good weather this past weekend. Unfortunately, I didn't fish the entire time, and some of the times I did, I was solo, and I tried. Max, I let you know on this, that absolute trophy clear body of water I went solo on, never been to before.
Yeah.
And I pulled a Jeremy, and I mean, my tracks cover that entire lake, and it's not a small lake. So
that's good. Sounds like you found some fish there. You didn't catch one, but sounds like you had a few moving.
Yeah, I tried. I looked everywhere. I did a lot of driving. I did a lot of trolling. I did some casting. When I was trolling with having the side image going and live scope out, I think I contacted probably 8 to 10 different fish. Some of them ended up being the same, I guess somewhere around 8. Yeah. And I don't think some of them were small. So they were hanging out in some somewhat predictable areas, but ended up all being actually in pretty much one spot, which is pretty nuts, even though I went around the entire lake.
Yeah, well, they like to pack up this time of year. I'm excited. I get to get up there, as you know, fish with you and our uncle who's coming over from Colorado for a few days and doing some fishing. So I'm real curious to see kind of how this weekend goes with the big time cold snap. I mean, I feel like it could fire off in a big way, but I'll be curious to see where those fish are staging. We're still in the pre-turnover phase, but with this cold weather, if they're going to start to push out, and I'll just be curious to kind of see what we end up doing. And I mean, I know we'll hopefully figure something out, but just kind of wait and see what that is, I guess.
Yep. We'll see what that is, and we'll let everybody know how it goes the next week on the podcast. So I think we can move on then to last couple updates.
Sure. What's the status on the merch?
The merch is going smoothly for the fact that we have it in, as we let you guys all know. But unfortunately, they came in early, and I do not have the website ready. There's complications that I am not good with. I am new to this, and I'm trying my absolute hardest on getting this out. Like, the merch is here, and it pains me to look at it and not be able to get it out in an orderly fashion, because I know if I rush it, there's going to be issues, and I don't want issues because right now in the practice phase of getting it ready, there are issues. And the last thing I need is to have you guys want merch, be super excited, order it, and then just like there's all these hassles of shipping and money and all the BS that goes into that a little bit that I just can't seem to get figured out for some reason. So internal complications that will be solved very soon. Just keep a lookout on our Instagram, Muskies on Tap, and we'll 100% say it on the podcast, of the week that it comes out, that we'll say like when it's ready to go and when it's up on the website and in stock and available to order.
And that's on your guide page, right? Sugsfishing.com.
Yep, that's on my guide service page, which is www.sugsfishing.com. You can actually check out some of the photos and descriptions as we speak right now. And yeah, we'll just see how it goes. And if it's a hit, we'll order some more and maybe think of some new options for you guys out there. If you want to let us know what you're looking for. Right now, we just have the pint glasses, stickers, and hoodies. So let us know if you want other things, if people are looking for hats, t-shirts, I don't know, anything like that, or maybe koozies. I know I totally blanked on that. I was going to get koozies for this first run, but that might be in the future.
Yeah. We'll get better, as we kind of move along with this stuff and learning kind of everything. We like you said, we've not done stuff like this in the past, so it's just been a big learning process. But hey, real quick, shout out to Joel Blessing for winning our giveaway. So he's getting a nice Muskies on Tap sweatshirt, sent him down in Florida. So hopefully he'll get to enjoy that sweatshirt for a few months out of the year.
A few days. Hey, branching out the brand.
Yeah, surely. But yeah, no, the giveaway was fun. We're really appreciative of all the people commenting and kind of getting involved in that. So I think that was actually a good gauge on us kind of saying, okay, maybe people will want these and buy them. So that's
true.
That was definitely encouraging. I know you'll figure out the payment stuff on your end here shortly. It sounds like you guys are pretty close. So hoping, very soon we can get it out. And yeah, like you said, if there's any feedback you guys have, let us know. We're all ears. So keep us posted on what you guys like, don't like, all that stuff.
Yeah, because it's for you guys. We want to hear from you, and yeah, just stay patient with us. We are the most unprofessional professionals you've ever seen in the podcasting industry, and we're
not professionals.
I know. I'm joking on that. We are not at all. We're just trying to have fun here and just give out some good info to the people and have some good interviews, which in that case, Max, we got some more interviewees lined up and we're pretty excited about them.
Yeah, it'll be a good next few weeks with some great interviews. It's sad to say, but we're kind of stumbling into the thick of fall here. That only really means that winter is coming and the season's going to slow down. So we really got to cherish these next few weeks, and we'll kind of figure out what the landscape of Muskies on Tap will be for the winter moving forward. But we're just going to cherish these next few weeks. If you have any opportunities to get on the water, got to do it. It's, the windows are starting to definitely shorten up here. So I'm looking forward to getting out there this week. I got one more week of fishing in October for myself. I'll be checking in with you like I do every single day that you're out on the water, bugging you, seeing what's going on. So should be some good times here ahead of us for the next few weeks.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm really looking forward to this fall. And if you guys are coming up to the Northwoods and wanting to maybe get on a fish, a little shameless plug, I got some openings this fall. And for any of the diehards specifically that want to target trophy water or just kind of looking to, learn how to troll or how to use suckers in the late fall, November is the time to do that, and I would love to take you out. But beware, gotta bundle up. The colder the day, the better the bite's gonna be, is what we found. So
Yeah. No. All right. Well, let's put a bow on this one. Unfortunately, we don't have Brian to take us away. So I'll do my best here real quick. We got to shout out again Clayton and Nick for coming on the episode. Really appreciative of you guys tuning into this PMTT recap stuff, getting involved, getting excited about it. It's an absolute blast of a season. Looking forward to next year already. Gus, anything else to add?
no, that's it. Did a pretty good job. Nothing like Brian though on the outro. Unfortunately, it's tough to beat.
Nah.
He can just think on the fly. But I think that's it. Let's wrap it up, and we'll catch you guys on the next podcast.
All right. Peace.
Peace.